G'day there guys, Markee here, back at it again with another episode of r/Entitled People. Now if you love today's video like I love you, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, a like on the video, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Posted by user Akio Amadeo. Titled, Mum wanted me to give my sister my house, and sister says I stole her dream. When me and my husband decided to move, we wanted to live on our own spot of land instead of the cookie-cutter community and no HOA. The house was still mortgaged. It was a 2-story, 5-bedroom, and 3.5 bath house and was less than a year old. Me and my husband at the time had no kids, only 2 dogs, and while we loved the house, the taxes and HOA fees and maintenance were really annoying to us and overly priced. And we wanted a little more privacy too, because our neighbors were literally 2 feet away from our own home. We were at a small family gathering with my parents and siblings, discussing our options about where we wanted to move to, and if we wanted to build or buy a temporary mobile home to save up for our true dream house. I noticed my sister pull my mother aside and were whispering about something, but I ignored it, as my dad was telling us about some great opportunities in some nice country-like areas, which was what we were hoping for. I always wanted to raise sheep and chickens and needed an area that allowed that. Later that night, my mom and sister asked if they could speak to me privately, which was never a good sign. But I sighed and we went into my mom's bedroom and closed the door, like they were ready to punish me or something, which made me anxious. She says, "Listen, honey, me and A have been talking, and we were thinking it would be a really good idea if you sold your house to A. She has 3 kids, and the house she lives in now is so small. This would be a major help to her and her family." My mom was using a tone like someone would use for a 5-year-old. I was 33 at the time, and I said, "That's not a problem. She just needs to go through the proper channels like everyone else. I can get you in contact with the realtors and you can take it from there," thinking she wanted to buy the house legit. No, you don't understand," my sister whined as she looked at Mum all teary-eyed. She would do this so my mum would take pity on her, and apparently they had discussed this before coming to me. "Honey, your sister's credit isn't good, so she would never qualify for such a big loan to buy your house. So we were thinking that maybe you could transfer the house into her and her husband's name, but you keep paying the mortgage and your sister will pay you under the table what is owed, and that way she can get the house and you won't be losing any money over it, since she'll be paying you back after all." Still talking to me all sweet-like. What? Are you kidding me? So do you have any idea what the mortgage is? It's $2,500 a month. A and you and your husband barely make $25,000 a year. That's when he actually has a job, and you don't work at all, not to mention the $1,500 land taxes and the $800 HOA fees. I understand you want a better place, but I know for a fact there would be a month you would fall on hard times, like you always do, and not be able to pay for that month, and I can't afford to keep you there if you don't pay, which we both know will eventually happen. You need to buy this house legit or not at all. I'm not making any kind of deals because we need to be selling the house to buy our new place anyway." I was about to leave, but my sister busted into tears at this. "Mommy, me and my husband will work really hard to pay you back every month, I swear. We need this place because we would never be able to get a place like this on our own. This is our only chance." She began to cry into my mother's chest at this. "You need to stop being so selfish. You and your husband are in the living room bragging about building a house and getting your own land and everything, knowing your sister is having so many financial difficulties and raising 3 children. My mum yelled at me. Exactly my point. She is always struggling financially. How can she afford $2,500 a month on mortgage alone? I would eventually end up just paying her mortgage all the time because her husband changes jobs like I change underwear and I simply can't afford it. And since the house would be in her name, then I would have no way to kick her out. Eventually, I would just have to stop paying, and the bank would repossess the house, and I would be left with nothing financially, which we need to fund getting a new place. Not to mention damaging my credit score, which I worked very hard to make good. Harsh, yes, but the truth often is. I can't believe you are doing this just to spite me. You are stealing my dream and not even giving me something in return. She began to whine even more. What are you talking about? Stealing your dream? I was really confused. I was always the one who wanted to buy my own little spot of land and build a little house. You were talking about raising chickens and planting a garden. Those were my dreams, and you were stealing them, you selfish tramp, she yelled. Oh wow, imagine that. I want to be a homeowner. You were the only one in the world that wanted that? I guess Mum stole your dream too, right? She owns land and a house and gardens all the time. And oh my god, B's sister does that too. And she raises chickens. We all stole your dream. I was being overly sarcastic because it was so ridiculous. That's different. They are older than me, but you're younger. You shouldn't upstage your older sister like this. Just because you and your husband make more money than us, it's not fair. She was still crying and making a huge scene, but I was done with this at this point. The answer is no. You want the house, you buy it legit, not under the table, and certainly not me footing the bill and losing a ton of cash that I know inevitably will happen. And I'm not stealing anything from you. If I want a little plot of land and to grow a garden and raise chickens, that's my choice. You have nothing to do with how I live my life. If this is such a reasonable request, Mum, then why don't you buy her a house legit, put it in her name, and just let her pay you under the table too, instead of asking your daughter to take care of her sister? A is your child, not mine, and I will not spend our hard-earned money supporting her and her family. A was throwing a huge fit after that, crying and begging my mum to make me do this like we were still little kids or something. It was a pretty sad sight to see her throwing a tantrum like a 2-year-old. Yeah, and she's the golden child. Really? I told my husband we needed to leave, and we spent the drive home with me telling him what my mum and sister were trying to pull over on us. He responded, "Even if you did agree, did she really think I would go for it? I like your family and all, but damn, your sister is something else altogether. Stealing her dream? What was that all about?" he asked, as we laughed about it a little. We have our own land now, and are living in a double-wide trailer that we love. 5 bedrooms and 3 full baths, and thankfully no stairs, no HOA, much cheaper mortgage and taxes, and wonderful privacy. I could walk around naked with all the windows open and no one would see me. Not that I do, but I could if I wanted to, lol. My sister has moved thrice within the last 2 years, and is always renting because their credit is terrible, and they can't get a loan to buy any house. I just heard from my mother that they have been sending them money almost monthly for groceries because they can barely afford to buy food. Yeah, and you think she could have afforded that mortgage? I don't regret my decision one bit, and I love my little vegetable garden that I make homemade soup with often. Posted by user Smile of the Beast, titled, Karen Wants Her Stolen Table Set Back. When I was 9, in 2001, my folks and I moved into a rental house. This previous tenant left behind 2 things: a beautifully carved stone table and a chair set, and a very shy ginger cat. We adopted the cat. The table and chairs sat in the front yard, easily seen by anyone walking past. Coming home from school, I find my mum talking with police and a massive dead patch of grass where the table used to stand. Somehow, someone had stolen the table set. It wasn't light. A truck would have been needed to cart it away. We never got it back. A year later, Karen knocks on the door. The conversation may be paraphrased slightly, as it happened so long ago. Mum says, "Hi, can I help you?" "Yeah, hi. I used to live here and wanted to organize a time to retrieve my stone table set." The table set that was sitting in the front yard. That's the one. I was thinking, hold on. That set was stolen about a year ago, and even if it wasn't, you left it here, without any contact, for over 2 years. The landlord tried to contact you, but you essentially abandoned the property. Well, I didn't have room for it at my new place. Now I do. I have the receipt, so it's still mine. It was stolen. And I noticed you haven't asked about the cat you left here either. You think you can push that thing on me when you don't have my table set? God, no. I wouldn't let you anywhere near him with your attitude. He's registered to us now anyway. You have no more business here. Leave. She slammed the door in Karen's face. I'd never seen my mum so angry. She hugged our cat for 10 minutes straight. Karen wasn't finished though. She called the cops, because of course she did. Cops arrived, Mum went out to meet them. She didn't want me to hear what went on, but she summarized later. Basically, Karen claimed Mum was hiding her table set and preventing her from getting her property back. Mum explained what happened, provided the landlord's phone number, and suggested they look in their records because the table was officially stolen. Police left, Karen didn't get her table, we kept the cat. Posted by user Tsundere Shadowrain. Titled, Neighborhood had my brother's car towed on our property. I'm pretty ticked because this happened just a few hours ago. Anyway, to set the stage as players, we have me, my neighbor, who from here on will be referred to as Nosy Old Bat, Nob for short, and yes, she's an entitled boomer. Her husband, nice neighbor, my brother, mentioned rather than involved, and my grandmother. For some backstory, Nob and I both live on corner houses next to a busy street, which is relevant to the story. And oh man, is this lady bordering on r/insane people level of crazy and nosy, because oh my god, she's nuts. I've lived in this house my entire life with my grandmother. I'm 28, and where I live, it's hard to live on your own. Especially in the pandemic going on now, and being temporarily out of work, because finding work that's disabled accommodating is a pain. Especially when you have asthma, and people are paranoid that an asthmatic has COVID. I get it, but it's tiring to explain that no, I don't have the virus, I have asthma, and I can't infect anyone with my bad lungs. And Nob used to watch me for a little bit when I was 6, until my aunt could pick me up to babysit me. This apparently has given her the mindset that she can attempt to control my life and tattle on me to my grandmother, who nowadays knows when I have company and if a friend parks in her driveway. I call or text her to let her know, and ask her to let me know when she'll be home so I can tell my friend they need to move their car unless grandma tells me that it's fine and she'll park on the side of the street, which she does occasionally, even if there's no one in the driveway. A non-issue, right? Not to Nob. She has been known to get up in my business, to go and knock on my door and demand to know who's in there, and if I'm doing the nasty with those friends, I'm asexual, so it's hilarious when people ask me if I'm sleeping around, but it's infuriating when Nob asks this because she's nosy AF, and thinks she practically owns the neighborhood due to the aforementioned corner houses, and acts as if this is an HOA. It's not, thank everything, and that she's in charge, as should we be because of our house on the other corner. She makes calls on other people's behalves constantly. We are no different. Anyway, dressing the stage aside, the story of the title. Alright, so my little brother is a Marine, and is currently deployed in Hawaii, and his car has been on our property for a while now, because, well, he can't come and drive it since he's in Hawaii. This apparently gives her the idea to call a tow truck because it hasn't been moved since he left it. It's not even a terrible looking car either, but I guess it ticked her off that it was sitting there due to it being a car she didn't know. My grandmother's now dead truck has been there longer, but Nob knows whose it is because she's seen her drive it. This happened between the time my grandmother and I left for Costco and the time we got home. Nob called the towing company to tow my brother's car because, in her batty old boomer logic, after my grandmother went over to her house to confront her, it's been there for over 2 weeks and is just sitting there, on our property, not hurting anyone. Her husband, nice neighbor, as crotchety as he can be, was unaware his wife did this because he likely wasn't home, so he'd said that he wasn't sure when he talked to us. So, now my grandmother has to call the police and the towing company to get the car back, and she is rightfully furious, as am I, about this because it means another towing fee that was completely unnecessary. She can't even get it until tomorrow because nothing is even open. She was met with voicemails of the towing not even being open either, which was bizarre before 7 p.m. But whatever. I don't have the towing hours since we haven't had to deal with that before. I absolutely hate Knob with a seething and unholy passion, because this isn't the first time she's attempted this garbage either. She's done this on other neighbors because she thinks she can police the neighborhood because of her corner house logic. I do not care how rude this makes me, but I will not be paying that towing fee, and I will not be letting my grandmother pay for it. Knob will be paying that because it was none of her business to be nosing her old face into things. I don't care if you're old. You do not stick your nose in someone else's business and life, especially if the thing in question is on someone else's property. I will take this woman to court if she refuses to pay for this because she had no right to do this. I mean, what was my brother supposed to do? Be all like, oh hey guys, it's been 2 weeks. Let me go back to my grandmother's and drive my car around the block. I'll be back on Monday with all the flights. Yeah, as if his CEO would allow for that just because of Knob. I'll give updates if anything further happens because yeah, I'm furious and don't really care if the old woman doesn't want to pay for it. She will, or face court for her nosiness. Update. My cranky and tired butt marched over to her house. She was awakened outside and ripped a new one into her about keeping her nose in her own crap and to pay for the towing, or I was going to take it to higher up and nail her for illegally having it towed. She's paying for the tow truck, reluctantly. I haven't slept. Thanks, insomnia. You're a pal. So I have no Fs to give about being cordial or polite with this BS. Entitled people need to learn to mind their own damn business and leave people alone. Posted by user PoliticsNerd67. Titled, If your oldest child is essentially a secondary parent to their siblings, you are probably an unfit parent. I'm an only child, but I've seen lots of stories on Reddit about people who have essentially had to raise their siblings because their parents couldn't, and it's horrible. Either get a babysitter or don't have more kids than you can parent. These are your children, not those of the oldest child. Therefore, they are only your responsibility. Parenting is 100% a choice that you chose to make. Yes, the oldest should help out, as all the kids should, but their lives shouldn't be centered around taking care of their siblings. I posted this on r/unpopular opinion today, and apparently people think I'm some kind of a-hole for thinking parents who turn their kids into secondary parents and have kids when they can get a sitter or nanny, and parents who have kids when they are not in a good state financially or mentally to have kids are irresponsible and selfish. Because, let's care more about not hurting the parents' feelings than the well-being of the children, right? Now, I'm going to clear up some misconceptions commenters made about my beliefs on r/unpopular opinion. 1. I'm specifically referring to older siblings whose lives have been centered around taking care of their siblings. That's what I mean by secondary parents. Obviously, siblings should help out, but there's a difference between helping out and being a secondary parent. If you want to be a secondary parent, then fine, but that doesn't mean all older siblings should do the same. 3. I know there are certain circumstances where it's not the parent's fault. I have sympathy for those people, but a lot of the time, it is their fault. 4. There is nothing wrong with looking up to your older siblings. That's great. 5. I've had to say this a whole lot in response to the commenters, so I will say it again. Most people stay in one economic class their whole lives. People who have extreme financial changes are in the minority. I am sympathetic to those in that minority. I am not sympathetic to those people who have kids when they don't have the financial or mental ability to do so. Parenting is 100% a choice. Don't forget that. 6. I realize that there are kids that exaggerate their responsibilities. I'm not referring to those people in my post. Posted by user ILoveMe39. Titled, Entitled Parents, Leave everything you have to our children. I'm 39, successful, and am quite well off. My siblings, sadly, are not. My brother, 42, has 3 children. My sister, 35, also has 3, with one on the way. My younger sister, 28, is married and pregnant, but she had nothing to do with the events of the post. We were all raised to believe that money doesn't matter, and all you need is a happy marriage and lots of kids to live a happy life. Being poor and having lots of kids was somehow glorified. Maybe because that's the way our parents lived and wanted to convince themselves that they didn't screw up. Fortunately for me, I didn't buy into that nonsense. I always knew I never wanted children. I focused on my career and on achieving success. Today, I have my own house, wonderful pets, and a loving boyfriend. My family, however, seems to think that there's something wrong with my lifestyle. My parents have often commented that my 5-bedroom house is empty without any kids running around. My siblings often tell me I'm selfish for not having kids and actually enjoying my life. However, their disdain for my selfish lifestyle doesn't stop them from begging for money. My brother and sister have called me and asked me to help me pay their bills. Now, if it's something serious like clothes or school supplies for their kids, I'm willing to pitch in, but I always refuse when I'm asked to pay for trips to amusement parks, etc. I also paid for my parents to stay in a high-end assisted living facility. They are my parents. I felt that I owed them this much. I've moved them to a less luxurious facility because of something horrible they did. I'll make a post about that too if you're interested. However, I couldn't help but feel insulted when they sang praises for my siblings for breeding and following in their footsteps, and how my parents wish I had done the same. As if, among all their kids, I'm the biggest disappointment. For this reason, I've distanced myself from them. I only call or visit to check up on them, and don't let them be a part of my life. The other day, I got a call from my sister asking if she, her husband, my brother, and his wife could come over. I said okay. They asked me to leave my fortune to their kids, in equal portions, and if I did, they would stop asking me for financial help. They said this as if they were doing me a favor. "You don't have kids, so who are you going to leave it to?" asked my brother. I told them I was going to leave my money to charities and that I don't owe them crap. When they went on the "you're selfish" tirade, I told them to get lost. The next morning, I got a call from my dad telling me they were disappointed in me. I simply hung up. The one family member who has stood by me is my youngest sister. She actually has her crap together, and I could not be more proud of her. Edit: here's what my parents did to deserve the downgrade. After the altercation with my siblings, my parents tried a different strategy. They tried to sweet-talk me, and suddenly their tune had changed from "you're so selfish" to "aw, we didn't mean it, let's talk." So after they kept pestering me to have a word with them in person, I invited them over. Now, my parents know damn well that chocolate is bad for dogs, but my mum has tried to give them some on many occasions. When I tell her off, she always comes back with, "but maybe they like it," and "I was just being nice." This time when they came over, I left them in the living room and went to the kitchen to get some refreshments. While I was there, one of my dogs came over to greet them. I could see them from the kitchen. My mum petted him for a while, then reached into her purse and pulled out a bar of chocolate. She broke off a piece and was able to give it to him when I stormed over and knocked it out of her hands. My parents looked shocked. I was enraged. Even after being told repeatedly that chocolate is bad for dogs, they just didn't get it. When I asked my mum what the hell she was doing, my dad actually started yelling at me and told me that I was being rude. I told them either they were complete idiots or they were intentionally trying to hurt my dog. I told them I was sick of their BS and that they were on very thin ice with me. When they tried to argue back, I grabbed my dad by the arm and walked him out of the door. My mum followed. This was less than a month ago, and a few days ago, they were moved to a much less cushy facility. They won't be mistreated, I would never allow that to happen, but all they'll have are nutritious meals, medical care, and a television they'll have to share with the others. The nice, fully furnished mini apartment they had earlier, with all kinds of luxuries, will soon be a distant memory. Edit 2. To all those assuming I'm a man, I'm actually a woman. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something that you didn't know before. If you haven't already, please do feel free to click that like button, as it really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already and you love today's video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love it a lot. Also, big shout out to all my Patreon members and channel subscribers. You guys are all up on the screen right now. I love you. I love your faces. Also, I love seeing you guys all chatting down below in the comments. It brightens my day to see the stories that you guys share and just the kind words you guys always have for my videos, as well as everyone else in the videos. I love you too. But honestly, your ongoing support means the world to me, and I just love it so much that you guys were able to support a career for myself that I invest so much time into. And you guys honestly motivate me to work harder each and every day to put more love into the videos for you guys. If you guys have watched this far in the video and you haven't already subscribed on Patreon or become a channel member, that's cool, you don't have to, but there are links down below. You can donate any amount of money, pledge that any month, cancel whenever. I'm completely cool with it. It's just there for you to support me if you'd like to go the extra mile. And I'll go the extra mile for you guys by putting out new amazing content every single day. With that said guys, I really hope you have a good day, night, sleep, bath, time at work, whatever you're up to today. This has been Markee. I'll see you in the next amazing video. Bye.